Okay, lovely to see everybody as always. We are kind of working from our first subject today. You three are the beneficiaries of me teaching variations on this lesson twice before you to another class. Agata actually did an amazing job working on something that I decided halfway through the first class was too hard. So sometimes it's a benefit to do things that are too hard, but I also learn that sometimes it takes a little time. It's good to step back. So we're going to stage back both our drawing and our painting. This is essentially, and we always start with white objects in watercolor because what I'm going to teach you is how to mix grays. We're going to talk a little bit about drawing, and you're going to practice drawing, but also we're going to learn how essential it is to keep parts of this painting unpainted, right? The sort of value of white. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do, whatever size you've got, this is almost a square. It is, as you can see, slightly, if you can see by the way I'm measuring this, it's slightly longer on the bottom than it is on the top, but not by much. So I want you to recreate with your pencil or with your tape. Tape is really fun because you can, let's see, what I do. I want to do this. I'm putting my tape down here. Because then you have this beautiful frame that just seems to finish it. This is kind of an awkward looking painting until the very end. So the whole time you're going to be like, what, why, what is going on? And then later you'll be like, oh, yeah. And the final crowning step will be to pull off your tape and see your beautiful framing job. And that's kind of, it's like unwrapping a present or something that you give yourself. So I'm taking time to do this. You could do this. This is special watercolor tape. I see MC's got some of that. But you could also use any kind of masking tape. Honestly, you totally could. So let's see. And I don't have to line it up. As you can see, I'm going to let the most important line I'm going to do. I'm just lining up. It depends on what size you're working with. You might need to do a little bit more measuring. I'm just kind of trying to create a one-on-one comparison here. So my tape goes all the way to here and all the way to here and all the way here on the edge. The only one I'm lining up my edge with this edge of the source, and then I'm actually lining up. The tape can extend beyond the boundaries except for this one. See how I'm lining that up? Now I know I have something that's pretty much, I'm going to bring it a little bit out. Let me see. Stop moving around. Here we are. Right. Here we go. Yeah. So let's look at the black and white of this. We're going to start with a pencil drawing. And I'm going to show you how to kind of box something in because I noticed students really struggled with this edge last time. The reason being that when we do somehow we struggle with curved edges, we kind of make them too big. So people kept kind of, bumping this up here. So what I want to show you is the relationship. See, this is where you benefit. I don't think I understood this was an issue until the last class. Look at this. So I'm going to draw. Get it. I'm gonna draw. I don't know if you can see that. We're gonna start. Every time there's an intersection between straight lines, you see where one kind of pokes out over the other. That's where there's a change in direction. So we're going to start with, in our pencil, with recreating those lines.
Mhm.
I want you to notice I just made a mistake there, so I redrew it. And then this line, watch it. This is the thing that's the trickiest to get. It's like, it goes like this. And like that. Goes in a little further. Here, let me do this too, so you can really see it. See where these little crisscrosses are? So essentially what we're doing is we're breaking up the curve into straight lines, but the curve is where there's a change in plane and a change in direction. So those are important things. Oh, hello. Hermes comes up to say hello. Hang on, I'm going to pop him up. He might be starting to cause problems. I don't know. There he is. He says hello.
He's beautiful.
Hi, Diana. How are you? I'm so
I'm
glad.
good. I'm good. I'm in a house full of sick people, but I'm
Oh
not.
no, are you sick too?
No,
Good. You're staying out in the studio all day, I hope.
I'm sleeping on the couch.
Good. So this is Hermes. For those of you who didn't meet him when he was a little baby, Anik and Diana have known him since he was born.
Yeah.
Um, he is
We've
definite.
never met him,
He's what?
but we never met him in person.
Never met him in
Exactly.
person. But you know, it's so funny. Whenever I have the computer set up like this, he wants to come over. And I think he's very used to talking into the computer. Go ahead, get down, get down, get down. He's used to talking into the computer. All right, sorry, we'll pop this off. He likes to say hello. I think he's used to having his fan base.
Yeah.
When I finish this, I'm going to send it over to you. See, notice how. So when you see people doing this is what they're doing. I think I want to bring this down a little bit more and then bring that over. What I like about it, so you notice I lay the line down and then sometimes I'm happy with it and sometimes I'm not. This takes up almost all the paper. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna stop and I may adjust this line too. I might, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna do that. Yep. This need to be just a little wider. Sometimes you really can't tell until you lay the line down. Do you have it in the right place or not? Particularly because as we're focusing on things, we're not, oh yeah, and then this needs to go out a little bit more. So you see, I'm looking at, I'm often using negative space. No. Something is off with this whole side. So before I send it to you, you're going to notice I've done, I think my slant was a little too dramatic. There. Yes, because this needs to really go, this needs to be longer. Good Lord, Cat. Now he's looking right into the computer. He is about to cause a serious problem. It comes out a little bit further. Yeah, no, almost. I've almost got it. If you're struggling with this a little bit, you can see, so am I. Mhm. There we go. That looks better to me. What I was really looking at in this case, as I was trying to get this dimension right, is I was looking at this shape. I'm going to sketch it in for you in a different color so you can see it. I was looking at this negative space shape. I knew this needed to be long. I knew this needed to come to here. And every time I laid my line down, it wasn't really doing that. Have I really done it now? Let's come out just a little bit. You'll find that some days you're on with this stuff and some days you're not. Obviously, today is not a day where I'm totally on with it. But the nice thing about this is that you can see that even me, the teacher, oh, that's where the problem is. Up here. Even me, the teacher, I struggle with this. This is a daily struggle. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. That's it. This needs to be up higher. Notice I'm not trying to get the exact, that's it. I'm not trying to get the exact petal shape. I'm not trying to get these in because I won't be able to get this stuff in right until I've got my structure lines in place. And then this allows me to go where it needs to go, which is here. What I was struggling on this side. What I really realized is this side wasn't high enough because I wasn't looking here. So sometimes, right, I'm looking at these shapes. I'm looking at this shape. So the weird thing is, hi Sandra, as you're,
Hi guys, hi Leah.
as you're drawing, you're looking at these, you're kind of constantly having to look at the space around the space. And it's not always easy to get it right. And it's not about getting it right, it's about trying it and then moving it, trying it, moving it, trying it, moving it until you get there. But I think this little crossover technique really helps. There, that's better. All right, I'll send you a picture of where mine is. You can see all my eraser marks. In general, I try not to practice these. Of course, I've got 2 beginning watercolor classes going at the same time. But I really try not to kind of showboat what I can do. Obviously, as you can see today, absolutely not showboating what I can do. I'm showboating what I can't do because you all are going to be in that same situation. And I want you to know it's normal. So normal. Oh, where are you? Come on. Oh, Friday. No, Saturday. Where are you? Friday. There we go. Okay, so I've just sent over what you can see it with my warts and all, my mistakes and all, my little grid. I would like to see this grid. I do not want to see you going further than that. I'm going to be a little bit of I shouldn't use this word, dictator. I'm going to be a little bit strong about this because this shape is the most important and it's going to be the hardest for you to get. So when you think you've got it, send it on over. Hello. Hey, Diana and Sandra, I was just telling these guys, I'm going to send out a note at the end of February telling everybody at Reuters and the LA Press Club, I'm going to bundle all of the beginning lessons together in the different classes, but I'm also really going to push Lotto's class as a place to go if you don't have the bandwidth to do something, but you want to talk to people about salon style things.
Also, we're gonna have a constant talking in that class.
Isn't there always talking in that class?
Yeah, but not constant.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's like, I think it's just, it's, the class is going to be what the class is going to be. I don't want to change the class. I'm just trying to explain to people where they can get some relief right now. We have a
Yeah,
lot of journalists that are working very hard and cannot make it here.
okay.
They deserve to have some kind of thing. I trust you to be able to control what's going on.
Well, it's a bit embarrassing to ask somebody to shut up.
Um, yes, you should never ask somebody to shut up in these classes. Never, never.
Yeah, but sometimes it's just, as we say in French, gets your head like a melon to have like non-stop talk while you're trying to
It's not nonstop talking,
do
but you guys have a fairly
to do
steady
hard.
stream. You're reading books. Everybody's reading some book. People are reading books together to talk. I mean, to talk about it. It's a whole, like, I would just like to let people know that if they have no bandwidth, just come and listen. It's a fun class to just sit in. Community is community, and we got to be really proactive about that right now. The stress levels, I don't have to tell you, Sandra, the stress levels are immense.
I mean, I rarely attend that class anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Mhm. When you think you've got this, let me know. Send it over so I can look at it.
I've sent mine over.
Okay, let me take a look,
Sure.
and then I'll show you the next step. Oh, I see everybody has. Okay, let's see. That looks pretty good, Anik. I like it.
Thank
All
you.
right, excellent. MC, excellent. I can see you all. I would bring this line down just a little further. Do you see where I'm pointing?
Yeah,
You have yours up here, and notice this is longer and this is slightly shorter. I'm going to do the same thing. Like there. It seems like a small thing, but it's not. Good job, you guys. Agatha. Good job, Agatha. Excellent. These look great. These look really great. Okay, then I can see you're ready to go to the next stage. So let's do it. So the next stage, I'll do this in blue so you can really see it. Right here is where you start to create out your shadows. Some of these shadows are harder and some are softer. So I recommend a soft, unless you're dealing with something like this, I would recommend a soft line, pencil line. You might find when you add this shape in that you need to kind of adjust this line a little bit. Sandra, what are you working on? Diana, what are you working on?
I'm finished with my monkey, but I'm starting on a dog. I have this friend who lost a beloved dog, and she put a very nice picture of it on Facebook. So
Can I tell you how much I am respecting your work ethic right now in art, Sandra? You're just plowing ahead.
doing departed pets.
Just doing it. But not always doing
No,
all
not
kinds
always.
of things. It's fantastic. So particularly here, this is where people really struggled with this because they kept bringing their petals like way up here on the top. But you'll notice it's really a kind of it's two diagonals, but it really goes down. Even though this rises up a little higher, if I drew a line straight down, this would rise a little bit higher across. The key is to keep things kind of going in the right direction. you can see you can kind of pull the, oh yeah, let me get those in there too. Notice I'm getting my external shapes before I start adding in my internal shapes. I'm going where I can most easily see it. This went in too far. This needs to come just a little bit out this way. A challenge will be to get rid of all of your extra lines. You'll need to erase those after this stage before we go on to the next one. But does everybody see how this is kind of helpful to get those outer shapes? And this is the general principle of drawing. You start with your outer shapes, which feels really weird to your left brain, but is absolutely necessary. And if you think about it, extremely logical from the right brain perspective. And that is that I've got to get my bigger shapes first, and then I fit my smaller shapes in between. So if you can think about it that way, you can see that it's actually quite logical, but not to the left brain. The left brain is going to keep trying to get into detail before it's ready. I'm really glad. I'm going to point out to everybody here in class and also on this video, the level of mistakes I'm making. I hope you're feeling heartened by that. Sandra, are you okay over there in Washington? Are you?
It feels a bit like the pandemic where you're doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Like
I think Reuters is doing a great job of covering.
Yeah, it is actually. What kind of bombshell we've got now? I'm worried actually about the city. Well, if he manages, because government workers are 49% of the employed people in Washington. So if he decimates that, like fires many and sends over to other states, it
will destroy the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really stressful times, and then you're having to kind of be in the center of it.
You're already beginning to see people losing their job, like contractors are losing their job, they're being let go. I have friends who are government workers. It's
Sure.
hard. I mean, I'm so grateful I'm not a government worker right now.
Never know. We may be next.
I was reading, there's an article in The Atlantic, I think, about what happened when Hitler came to power. And he first tried to, I mean, for those of us, and that includes me, who didn't remember history lessons, he first tried a coup, a putsch, and didn't get in. And then he managed to get in legally. And in less than 2 months, he destroyed all democracy, all the institutions. And the main way that he did it is there was a fire, which nobody started. And after that, he imposed martial law. And suddenly, that's exactly what the Korean tried to do, right? And failed.
Right.
I was very heartened that he failed, because I think that would be in Trump's playbook. But your best bet, if something like that happens, is that the armed forces don't enforce it. But in his case, he's changing all the leadership of the Pentagon in order to control the armed forces. So we'll see. But I mean, that's how it happens.
It's and actually
it happens very quickly, but very quickly. You don't see it coming.
Yeah. This is nail biter time.
I mean, by the time you notice, because I'm in Washington, a lot of people, I mean, not a lot of people, but some people I know have already left the States. I want to stay, and I'm watching. Being aware that maybe watching is not enough. That's going to happen so quickly.
Well, you're doing an important job right now.
No.
Which is to help record.
Need another copy. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty grim.
It's grim right now.
I think particularly in Washington it's very grim. Oh, there's another thing is that what they're doing is that DC has got some kind of home rule, and there's already a guy from Utah who's trying to pass a bill to take it away. So then we'd be in the hands of National Guards.
Right.
Mind you, I don't think that mayor is fantastic. It's true that we've had a lot of crime. You know, black kids with guns. They're kids. They're like 13, 15, doing carjackings and stuff like that. And then not getting really prosecuted. So, but that's another thing.
All right. And yeah, it's bad. Back to this assignment very quickly. Anik, I want you to look here. You're missing this line here. Missing this. And this needs to be much higher.
Okay, I'll be back in a second. Sorry, thank you.
Okay. Nope, you got it.
Yeah, this is the dog I'm gonna do.
Okay. Give me just a second, Sandra.
okay.
I'm calling everybody who's come through and then I'll take a look.
Yes, absolutely.
MC, I want you to take a look. Similar issue. I don't know if everybody just missed this, but this line goes all the way to here. This is an inside line. Also, MC, your line's kind of going up like this line. If you can see, I've just put dotted lines as well. This needs to come up a little higher. So go ahead and make those corrections. Just know this is the hard part. Let's see. Agatha, I'm going to tell you, Agatha got this part. But this needs to come up. This needs to come up higher, honey. Much higher. All right. Great job, everybody. Okay.
Sorry, Leah. Speaking of the governmental workers, we just had twice the person at the door.
Really?
Yeah, there's this custom here that the governmental, basically the city hall workers, that just every February they just go out and deliver you the tax letter for the property.
Yes.
So you can meet
Don't
them in
forget
person.
those tax letters.
Yeah, but it's just for property. If you're a homeowner or flat owner, you get one.
Property tax.
Yes, and the lady was asking about the neighbors. You were saying about the line there because.
Oh yes, you need to look at this.
Mhm.
You've absolutely missed this line.
Ah,
You don't have it in there.
Ah,
So you
yeah.
have this line, but you don't have that line. And this much
You
much
see that.
taller than you have it, and a little bit wider, a little bit thicker.
All right.
So
All right.
it's okay. You aren't the only one who made that mistake. In fact, I think I probably made it too to begin with. It's hard to see what mistakes I didn't make. Sandra, show me what you got. And Diana, you too, if you'd like to.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I think I'm doing a portrait of Noor, the cat. I can
Send it over.
show you where I'm at, but I'm just
Beginning stages.
super beginning, and I might have done him too big already, so I might have to just.
All right, the rest of you can do these last lines.
Just sketching.
Right, just to place your. Once again, yes, please send it through. I'd love to take a look at it. Once again, this particular flower, the shape of it, oh, that's really cool. If you can see Diana's piece, it's look at how she's just laying it on top of one of the canvases that she just randomly laid paint on. It's this is a fun way to lay a base down for a painting. It will support.
Diana, you know, this is perfect illustration for Master Margaret.
You're right. Oh my God, yes. Anik, the only thing you need to do is bring this up here. It doesn't stop here. It comes up to about here. Doesn't stop here. Comes up to here. Oh, I see why you did that though. Okay, never mind. Keep it. You're fine. You're fine. That's one of my top 10 favorite books ever. Anik, I've read it about 10 times. I
think
I
I
love
have
the
it.
Master and Marguerite.
I have it in Polish, in English, in Czech, and
Which do
we're planning
You
to
read
buy in
Czech as
Italian.
well?
Yes, yes.
Wow. Is it close to Polish?
Close enough. I mean, I studied Czech literature
Oh, okay.
and wrote a master about Czech surrealists, but
So you
I
wouldn't
haven't
be
been
able to
speaking.
read it had it not been for that.
I mean, it's very similar, to be honest, but it messed up with my Polish grammar because what they write together, we write apart. So when I came back from the studies there, I just felt unable to write in Polish again,
Wow.
which is very bad.
I mean, I think that's the Englification of languages, because as in Sweden, we combine words and create new words to describe things.
Right.
They're always written together, but today's generation does it the English way and separate them. So it looks
Separating that.
weird.
You know, to put
Interesting.
them together is very Germanic, I think.
Yeah.
And in a way, the Americans amalgamate words more easily than the British. The British tend to hyphenate when they put two words together, which
So
I find is much clearer.
Fascinating.
Though in Slavic
Yeah.
languages we have all those prefixes and suffixes and that basically change the meaning, because what in English exists as 16 plus tenses, we deal with using suffixes and prefixes. So if you add a suffix or prefix, it means that it was in the
Changes the
past.
meaning.
It was done or it was being done in the past, depending on which one you're using. And there's no rule for that. And Czechs do the same. And basically that messed up greatly with my brain for a year.
I can imagine.
That's fantastic.
This
When
is
you
a
said about
fantastic discussion. This needs to be thicker, MC. Can you see that?
Mm.
Needs to be thicker.
when you said about prefix and suffix that change the meaning, it reminded me when I first came to America, I was 15 and I was at some friends and I wanted to use a shampoo in the shower, and I found this thing that said hair remover, but I didn't know what remove meant. I knew what movement.
Oh no!
And I thought that I'm going to wash my hair with that hair remover. But then it smelled so disgusting. I thought, no, actually it does not appeal. And I'm glad I didn't, because it was Nair and it would have melted my hair. But I didn't know, I knew a move, but I didn't know what remove meant. And it means something completely different.
I can't believe there's any Nair left, Sandra. That is
This
very,
was
you
like
bring
20
back a
years ago.
70s memory for me.
Yeah, but it shows that in English as well, a prefix can completely change the meaning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you are the people to be able to ring true on this, because you're all functioning in multiple languages all the time. Beautiful, Anik. There you go. You got it. Okay. So if you have these lines in, the first mix we're going to make is actually, I'm going to bring this in. There's two things I want to point out here. One is that as far as values go, the darkest values are here and here. So we're going to actually start with this one. Because the real problem that happens is as you start to lay in your shadows in the light areas, this is a 4.5 out of 5. This is a 5. This is probably a 2 value. And this is probably 1.5. And this is pure 1. This is light. This is 2, right? But what happens is as you start laying, if we don't lay this down first, it's very easy to go too dark on these. So I want to warn you in advance. If it happens, it's okay. You'll learn it. This is how we learn it the hard way. That like these darks have to be laid down as very light midtones. They're not dark darks. This is the dark. So I find laying the darkest part down first, which is, we'll deal with this later. This isn't as important as this. Laying this down really helps us balance what we put in here. Got it? Do you get what I'm saying here? Okay, you're going to find this out. Every student has found this out. If you're new to watercolor, this may be the lesson where you learn it. The first mix we're going to make is a kind of dark green mix that's going to go down here. I have my water. I have my testing paper. I've got my paints right here. Because we're working with green, what color are we going to mix in our green to create a dark kind of shadowed green?
Red.
Yes, a little bit of red. So I want you to watch me. I'm going to actually put this down so you can really see this mix, just mixing as it's happening. This is Viridian green. You may or may not have it. If you do, great. So see how I'm pulling out Viridian green, which is this kind of bright green. And if I lay it down here, it's not really going to give me the green. It's nothing like this green here. I'm going to add a little bit of warm red, in my case, cadmium. And look what happens as we do this. Now, unlike the gray that we're going to mix, we actually want this green. So we want more green than red, but we want the green to be dark. You know what? I don't like this mix. I'm going to change it. I am going to just, I hope some of you have alizarin crimson, which is kind of a neutral. Let's try it again. If you don't, you can stay with your green. I'm going to work with alizarin crimson, which is a darker. Yeah, I like this better. The outcome of this is greenish, but you want it to be way more gray. And then I may add a little cadmium yellow just to make it slightly yellowy. But notice I keep going back and forth, and then I'm going to test it here on the side of my paper that isn't my painting. So this is kind of the color I'm going for, and I've made it by mixing this color with this color, and then a little bit of this color. There's a little bit of green in my yellow now, so it's not quite the pure yellow that it was. Here, hold on. I can get that better. That makes this beautiful, rich, dark. So in my case, I'm going to send a picture of this so you can see it. This is what we're trying to go for. And I'll even write these colors down. V green, alizarin crimson, yellow medium, cad yellow medium. You may or may not have these colors, so you're going to experiment. Here, hold on, I'm going to just trick this off for a second. You're going to experiment with how to make something like this green with what you have. And I don't want to see this on your paintings at all. I want to see this on your testing paper to make sure you got it. Now, I happen to be testing on my, what's going on here? Okay. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Hold on. I have to be testing. No. Fuck. Sorry, I don't know what's going on here. My computer's. There we are. Okay. This is where us students. Here we are. This is where we often fall, is mixing. And that's why we're spending a lot of time with it. Because it's a delicate and beautiful thing. Pull this back up again. Let's see the whole thing. My mix. I'm pretty happy with it. When I am, well, I'm going to wait until I can see your mix. Let's see. Ah, that's pretty good, Agata. What colors are you using?
Great question. I have deep focus green. That's my main green.
Okay.
And then I put a little bit of cadmium red and a little bit of cadmium yellow, a tiny bit.
Okay, great. I like it. Give me 1 second. I'm going to show you how to use this. MC, what you've missed is it mixes a really beautiful gray. What you need is a little bit more green in this one. Can you see that? Because we're actually going, it's a grayish green, but it's more greenish. So add a little bit more green into that mix. Colors are good though. But stop what you're doing for just a minute because I want to show you guys the next step. The next step, we're going to do a wet on wet application of this first layer. And that means that I'm going to start with water. And I'm going to put it all over the green part. I'm going to wet the green part of this painting with water before I go back in with my paint and start to lay it out. You're going to ignore these things right now. You're going to go right over them. What's going to happen is as we lay this down, and you're going to have to then mix more of it. There'll be a lot of mixing happening as you go forward. See how I have to I'm continuing to go back in and mix. Don't worry if your mix is exactly the same. The real thing you want is for it to have this kind of murky army green color, khaki green color. And the idea of the wet on wet is that we have a kind of smoother texture. So you can see I'm pulling these little beads of extra paint around and into, and you're going to need to layer another, you're going to need to put another layer on. You're going to need to make it darker. But the nice thing about doing this here is that we don't have to worry about that right now because it'll dry a little bit lighter. We're going to leave this alone for now. And if you want to shift the color over, so we're trying to go for a little bit more of a smooth application as opposed to wet on dry, which will give us a little bit more definition and variation in our mark making. So I really pushed that around. I had to remix twice to get this first layer on. Annika, I'd like to see your gray before we go, or sorry, your greenish gray before we go further, if you don't mind, please. You probably already sent it. This is where we can do the least amount of damage to our paintings because it's the darkest area. Let's see.
I tried several, and honestly saying, I think that the one that is like in the top left corner looks the best.
The top is the
Top left. like
I'm gonna pop this up so you can, I'm wondering if I'm looking at it from the same, let me look at, here, hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna share the screen for a second, so, um, do you mean this one?
uh,
Where
no,
my
no,
point?
no, the left one.
This one?
No, middle. In the middle. Where the oh yeah, this one, like the
I don't
right
think
part.
that's the one. I think
No.
this is the one.
This was the one.
Oh,
All
I
right.
see. That's your green
Mm-hmm.
and this brown. Oh, so I don't like any of these. I'm sorry. I'm
It's okay.
sorry. They're not working for me. I
Mm-hmm.
think you need to rework this one. You're going to have the most success with this one. So please remix
right.
those. This looks like
Right.
brown.
Yeah, it
This
looks like
looks
brown.
too,
Olive.
they all look brown. Yeah, they
Mhm.
all look brown. You haven't got it yet. So use more
Mm.
green, less red, and
Mhm.
maybe put in a little yellow.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Oops. What happened? Okay. Yeah, I don't think those. That's why I want you guys to look at this. So instead of getting frustrated, that it's very common to mess this mix up to make your mixes look too brown. In this particular case, we want them. In general, we're trying to avoid when we're making a neutral mix. We're generally trying to avoid green or brown. But in this case, we want green, which means we need a little bit more green in the mix. It can't be brown. Brown is not what's happening here. A kind of muddy green is what's happening here. And you can see mine's already almost dry. Mine's already almost dry and it's lightening. So once it dries, I'm going to go back in with more paint and fix it up. But I want to see yours first before we go there. Let's really concentrate on this. There's a lot of things that have to happen really fast. Right? You have to mix, and then you often have to remix and then apply quickly before your paint dries. You want to move the paint around so it's a little bit more even. So that's why we're trying to break these steps down. The subject that I tried last week, more green, Anik. More green. You're almost there. More green. Almost there. Just add more green into the mix and try one more time. I appreciate you're pushing yourself on this one. This is good. This is really good. You might be struggling because I think the green you're using might be sap or hookers or something like that, and that probably has a little bit more brown in it. So let's see.
It is sap.
Yeah, sap is, oh, there you go. Now
I
you
love sap green
now you've got it.
Mm.
and
So
hookers.
sap is kind of green to
Mhm.
begin with, brown to begin with. So you've really got to, you
Mhm.
want to use red, but you want to, that's perfect. You got it. Okay, lay it in.
Wet on wet, yeah.
Yeah. MC, that's looking a little too gray. It's not green enough. I want you to mix another, I know the application looks great. Let me make sure to tell you what you're doing really well here. Color application looks great. Color doesn't look right. Can you see that? It looks like stone. It doesn't look green. So I want you to remix your green and test it on a test paper, and please show me. It's hard. This is really hard. Nice, Agata. Nice. Very good. MC, I'm going to have you stop for a minute because I'm going to go review the next color, and then we'll have you go back and correct that, okay? But before you correct it, I want to see your green before you lay it down. Okay, so let's let that dry, talk about it. Our next mixes here are going to be more gray than green or brown. So our next mixes, and they're going to be very light. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to mix a gray, and you're going to try it, and then you're going to show me your test and decide which one you like better. I mean, technically, we should probably be doing a yellow purple, and I'll show you how to do that. But yellow purple's really hard. It's probably the hardest mix, and I don't think you actually need it here if you want to go a little easier on yourself. So I'm going to show you a couple mixes. I'm going to bring these down so you can see. I'm going to put this on top here so I can protect my actual painting. So you can really focus on the mixing. So a really straightforward gray mix is ultramarine blue, which is a warm blue, and burnt umber, which is a brown. And the trick here is you want this to look neither brown nor blue, but you want it to look gray. A little bit like the color you got, MC. Your first layer, that's what you want here, right? You don't want a green. So here is what, and you also want to see what it looks like. So I'm giving an example of what it looks like watered down. So this is burnt umber and ultramarine blue. And you will see in this particular case, we actually want something that's more gray. So you could do that. You could do burnt umber and ultramarine blue. You could also try viridian green using your same colors, viridian green and red, but with the emphasis being on the gray you create. So we're using the same colors, but in a different way. Check this out. And I'm lightening it, so I want to see what it looks like lighter. So this is the same colors minus the yellow that I used for this green, but in this case, I'm trying to eliminate the green and the red completely to create a new color, gray. So that's viridian green and alizarin crimson. And the last one I'll show you is a purple yellow, but purple yellow is challenging. So try it, but you don't have to use it. So purple yellow, I start with ultramarine blue and I mix in quinacridone, a cool red like quinacridone. So I have a kind of bluish purple. Whoops, sorry, you can't see that, like this. So that's ultramarine blue and quinacridone red, which is kind of a pinky red, right? Bluish color. And then I can try adding, let's try cool yellow and see what happens. Actually, that looks pretty nice. Another gray. Very often the struggle here is you have too much blue, which means you have something kind of greenish, or you have too much red, which means you have something kind of brownish. So the challenge here will be to get the balance of those three right. In these others, you just have to mix two, but here you have to mix three. So that's ultramarine blue, quinacridone red, which is different than alizarin crimson, and then strangely this cool yellow. So I'd like you to play with all of those. I'd like to see your attempts. Notice this is on the side of my paper and not on my painting. Get yourself a nice gray. take a look. Let me take a look at what everybody said. Thank you guys. I already feel better.
Just
Oh, and it's
painting.
beautiful. I haven't had breakfast yet.
Oh, you mean eating?
Oh, MC, very nice. Green and gray. I think your green needs a little yellow to maybe make it look less slaty. But I like it. We're getting there. I like the comparisons. I like the comparisons. This is, yeah. So what's happening? MC, you're so close. I don't know what green you're using. I have a feeling the green you're using is impacting the the mix that you're getting. Is it Viridian green, MC, that you're using, or?
Yeah, it is. It's Viridian green.
Interesting. So I think you might need a little bit more warm yellow in there. You might be using a cool yellow, and that might be why you're not getting this kind of warmish, murky green, right? But you're getting there. Doing good. Great work. And of course, when you have, well, I'm going to wait. I'll wait. Let's see. I like the top one, Agatha. I like the top one.
Yeah, that was the
I
easier
think-
one.
Yeah, that's the easier one. So I'm going to show you guys how to apply this. I think we're going to go wet on dry this time, which is that we're going to go straight in with our mix. So here's the key. Here's my little testing. You don't want to go too dark on your first applied layer. So I'm getting my brush wet here, and then I'm testing it on here. I'm also testing it on here. Yeah, I like this. I might even add a teeny bit more yellow. I'm going to go with the purple mixture, purple yellow mixture. So when I lay it in, I want to make sure it's very light. Do you see how light that is? I've watered it down like 2 or 3 times. And it's going in here. And it's going to go here. I'm leaving the edge of the flower all around here, light. And I'm even adding little bits more of the yellow. And what we can see in the color version, which we couldn't really see in the black and white, is that this is kind of straight and this comes out in a little kind of sticky edge more. We're going to stop here. Are we going to stop here? I'm going to decide. Yeah, we're going to stop here because there's a slight shift we need to do to get this in. We, of course, are going all the way around our yellow stem.
This one is for you, Sandra. I'm making a blue cat.
Oh, let's see.
I haven't come that far yet. I can hold it up if you can see.
Yes, please. Hold on. I'm
Hold
doing
on just a
another.
second. Let me get in there.
Oh, cool.
Hold on, Diana. I'll pop it up.
This is Noah, right?
Yes.
I love the background, the blue in the back.
See how that's all. So you see how she's totally worked her background into her cat? It's great.
It's just a sketch, so we'll see.
It's getting there, but
It's
we can already see the building blocks. Sketches
looking good already.
building block.
Honey, you're bugging me.
Because you're making a cat. Have you ever had a dog, Leah?
I grew up with dogs and cats. I love them both.
I'm thinking of maybe getting a dog, but I'm afraid of
What
Of
kind
this-
of dog?
a Shiba.
Oh, they're very fussy.
I know. But you know, they say that they're the cat of a dog world, and the Bengals are said to be the dogs of a cat world.
I
So
think
people-
getting more animal energy in there is a great idea.
Oh, I don't know. I
different.
think it might ruin my quality of life and the Bengals. But it could go hiking and kayaking with me.
And she would get you out walking, which is really
Yeah,
good.
walking even more. I mean,
Yeah,
walking.
walking even more than you're already doing. They'll probably be, I mean, your cats are really used to the run of the place. So
Well, yeah,
that'll
I would get a
be an
puppy
adjustment.
so that they bring him up to teach him
Right.
respect straight away.
Right, right. Diana's laughing. It's like she knows, you know, Diana's the real expert here since she's introduced a German to a very nervous cat, and it worked out well. But as you know, it always
Sort of. I mean, yes, it worked out well, but
Have I ever told you guys? I don't know if I've ever told you guys this story, but when I was quite young, like 1 year old, my mother was 7 months pregnant with my brother, and my dad had just got his degree in social work in the Midwest in Michigan, where I was born, and we decided to move across the country to Seattle, where I was raised. And they took like the back seat out of a van and just nailed a playpen in to the back seat of the van, and then they threw me back there. No, like
With a
car seat
dog.
or anything. No, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and a litter of kittens.
what a nice way to travel.
Trundled across the country. I used to wonder why I love all animals and why I feel really good when animals are lying on top of me, and it is because my early experience.
You grew up with them.
So I always grew up with like 2 dogs and 2 cats. And here's the best part of this story. In Montana, which is kind of halfway to Seattle, we had a Siamese cat named Fang, and Fang was like, fuck this, I'm getting out of here. And so she jumped out of the van because it was just too much chaos for her into a field full of field mice. My parents couldn't get her back. So they left Montana because we had to keep going without Fang. But they talked to the sheriff and the vet of the small town. And after 2 months, the sheriff and the vet managed to trap Fang.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Send her to Seattle by plane. So I grew up with Fang, and my dad always calls that Fang's vacation. Vacation, like for 2
What a
months.
fantastic story.
Isn't that a great
I'm
story?
so glad you got
I
it
know,
back. I
so
don't know that I
funny.
would have been able to move on.
I think that explains a lot.
I missed all this. So how is this dog coming along?
How is Sandra's thinking about it still.
I'm just thinking maybe I'll wait till I retire because probably I'm on the late shift, so I could go with a long walk for it in the morning. But in the afternoon, I'd have to do it when it's dark, and I'm a bit nervous about doing that.
The good thing with having a dog is that you have to go for walks.
Yes, and also
Exactly.
you meet people
Yeah.
a lot more than with cats. But having said that, if a cat's hated, it's going to ruin their quality of life.
Well,
While
the cats are going to be the boss because
Well, they
For
have
a
to
while.
be. I would get a puppy so that
the dog
train
will have to adopt. The dog has to adapt. It's no way the dog is going to come in and be the boss over your cats.
Okay, there you go. You got it. You got it, MC. Green with yellow. That's the way. I'm looking at Anik, this is you. Which one do you so So your alt blue, the two on the left look a little brown to me. The one on the right looks pretty good. So see how that looks lighter, significantly lighter. That may be what you go for. See, that's the easiest part of this experience. I'm not making you stick with the purple yellow mix, which I did which Agatha knows in detail. I did make people do in the first lesson. It's the hardest one. It's the hardest one to mix. So I've kind of backed it down to here's how to mix a different grays. So work with the one that works the best to you. Yeah, nice, Anik. That's looking great. Okay. What you're making me think, and I'd like you to stop and just look for just a second. This gray down here is slightly greener. So you're going to take whichever gray you made and add just a little tiny touch of green to it. You don't want it to look super green. Here, let me test this. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. So I took my purple yellow mixture and added a little bit of green to it. And because I sort of want a slightly slatish gray, and I'm going to lay that down here super lightly. We're just practicing kind of tinting our grays, different colors. This is about to get a lot more fun. We're about to get into the actual colors, you know, the fun colors like the yellow and the background, which you get to pick. Nice, MC, very nice. Great recovery. This isn't bad. I want to tell you, you've gone a little dark. It always happens on the first go. So I want to really encourage you to go even lighter, right? When you look at this, you can see it's similar in value to what you've got here. Now you're going to make this darker, but you have to be really careful. And that's what I want to say this lesson is all about, learning not to go too dark. You got it? Do you see how much lighter mine is? Mine you can barely see. That's what you want. I mean, at this point, you're just going to move forward. So you're going to do things to push your dark in and your light in. But I want that this is an important thing to notice. And the first thing I'm going to do, because I've got this murky gray water, is I'm going to clean my water out and clean my brush out. Because now I want to lay a little bit of yellow in. And I also want to play around with my background. So clean my brush. Cleaning my brush. And then, so now I've got a clean brush, clean water. And now I'm going to lay in, I'm going to test my yellows to see which one I like the best. I'm actually going to mix a little bit of my cool yellow with a little bit of my warm yellow. And I'm mixing it like this. I'm going to layer it in very lightly with no mixes over the whole thing. And I may even wet my brush again and with a little bit of this yellow, I might brush it in over my gray here. See how there's this little yellow areas here, particularly where I might push it in a little bit and around. I can also see that over here on this side, my gray is a little bit darker. So I'm actually adding in a little bit of proper gray here to kind of darken a little bit and to bring out this shape a little bit more. And I may extend that up to something that looks a little bit like this. Not too dark. I hope it's not too dark. I'm kind of spreading a little bit of this dark, which I laid in on this side and what feels like too light, over into here a bit, but not too much. I may have now gone a little too dark. Because my paint's still wet, I can kind of blot out. So easy to go too dark. A little bit of my flower. By the way, great work today, everybody. You're doing great. And we have plenty of time. Nice, Agatha. Very nice. All right. You have a knack for this, Agatha. It's nice. Nice to see. You're mixing your values, kind of how you lay it down. This is good. Not that everybody doesn't, everybody does, but I like seeing the effortless. Oh, very nice, Ani. Very nice. Maybe slightly too dark in the shadows, but that's okay. It still really reads well. And I like your base on your yellow, which is standing out nicely. Okay, here's where it starts to get fun. You guys get to pick. I know this is almost black, but you guys get to pick the color that you want to make your background. You wanted to kind of lay it down heavy. I'm going to go bananas this time. I did a kind of purple last time, which is I consider sort of a safe bet. But this time I'm going to use turquoise because it's a pretty color. And see? And I want to like encourage you if you're, and we're going to go, technically we should do this wet on wet, but I'm going to tell you to do it wet on dry because I think it'll be easier to manipulate around the edges of your flower if it's wet on dry. So you get to pick whatever color you want for your background. Be really careful not to bleed into the flower. If any part of this is touching the flower, oh, I like that. I mean, turquoise is a showstopper color. I remember a couple of years ago, a friend of mine did a search on what are the most sought out paintings in the US and Europe. And literally the search term that was used was turquoise art.
Oh, wow.
People love turquoise. It was one of the top 5 terms. So
I'm happy to hear.
turquoise is a fun
No,
color.
but sometimes it's more green and sometimes it's more blue, right?
I mean, you have to adjust it, right? Like, but
I know.
people love it. Teal also, which is kind of this
More
whitish.
greenish, yeah.
Well, and also it's got more white in it, right?
I
So
don't like it
notice
as much.
as I'm laying this down, how many more marks I'm seeing because I'm doing this wet on dry. Can you see how uneven my mark making is? So I'm actually going, back in with water and trying to smooth it out a little bit. If I wanted a more even, so you have an option. You can do wet on wet. If your goal is to kind of create a more smooth layer, you might have to work a little harder. And then the rest of this lesson is just us going back into, right? I have to do another layer here. So I'm gonna mix brown and then a little yellow. I'm gonna go back in here. There's a little yellow rim, so if you can kind of save a little kind of light area here. I want to adjust that a little bit darker. See how I'm going back in? And by this time you're kind of going, you're going to go wet over dry because you really can't go wet over wet, I don't think, on the top layers in the same way you can do it on your first layer. So I'm just going to be darkening. I'm going to be trying to push. There we go. That looks a lot better. Right. But I'm trying to push my values. And then here, I'm going to show you a little trick. Sometimes it works. If you've got wet tube paint, I'm going to lay, this is cadmium, this is lemon, this is light yellow red, so but light yellow, a cool yellow. So I'm gonna lay a little bit of light on top of my on my palette over here. I'm gonna lay a little bit of wet tubed paint in yellow there. And I'm going to try and apply it dry on dry. So just getting some of the wet paint on my clean brush. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm trying to get a little bit, oh, my brush isn't totally clean, that's why. Here, hold on, so I've got a lot of, I'm gonna switch brushes for this task. I'm gonna go to a skinnier brush. And I'm gonna try and get, so I'm actually going like wet tubed paint to try and push this little yellow area out. And then I'm gonna go in with a little bit of gamboge or yellow ochre mixed in with medium yellow for my shadow. Let's see how that works. Right? We'll see how well it works. This part is darker. This part is lighter. And then you're just going to be going around. And also, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow here. Because right around this edge, and I'm doing this dry on dry, meaning but it only works if you've got tube paint. If your paint is dry, then you can't, this won't work. So you have to wet your paint to do it. So you can try wetting your paint to do it. It'll probably, so see how I can add that little edge there. So your job is to kind of go through and really push your edges. Push your darks. I'm going a little bit darker in here, but stopping about here. Going a little darker here. And here. Mostly you're going to be doing this dry on dry. And if you've got white tube paint, which I do, you notice I'm not really feeling, I'm not leaning on gouache this time. I'm trying really hard not to do that. So I'm showing you to work on. This is the only time we can really use white in an effective way. My white. Watercolor. White watercolor. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. I have this really crappy set of paint. Let's see, what do I have white here? Yes, I do. So I have this really crappy kid set of paints. I'm going to put my white tubed paint right here. So I'm trying to show you how to work with wet tube paint in a little bit the way in the past we've worked with gouache. We'll get to gouache, but I don't want to just go there just yet. So, oh, come on. So I'm laying down a little bit of white watercolor paint. I'm going to mix it dry with a little bit of yellow to try and get that little white glow on the top. I might be able to get it. I might not. I might have gone a little too dark. We'll see. I think I had a little too much green in my paint on the first go. We'll see. See if we can push this dark a little bit. So I might work on pushing this a little bit darker next to it. Yeah, starting to get there. So now you have all the tools. I'd like to soften this corner. I'm going to do that by going kind of here. See how I'm using my background to kind of soften my corner? Yeah, very nice. See how it goes. You totally have permission to screw this painting up too. I want to make this really clear. Oh, pretty colors, Anik. Very pretty colors. Now just keep pushing. We've got a little bit more time. We've got half an hour. So see what edges you can push. I like that pink choice. I am not surprised at all. Definitely the texture of my background, my upper background, is different because of the wet on dry application. Which is okay. But just to sort of demonstrate what those different things do. I'm kind of working one of these very lightly. I'm kind of using the top of my brush to create a sort of furred edge. Water. Helps. You kind of see on this layer, there are a couple of very light lines, which I might try to add in. Maybe they look a little too heavy and dark. If you look at this source closely, and you have it at the beginning of the thread, I can pull it down a little bit if you need to. You'll see there's a few extra areas that can kind of help you get a little bit more dynamism into this painting. I'm going to push that down so you guys can see it more quickly. me grab it. But these are looking pretty cool. And you can see they come together kind of late in the game. By the way, I appreciate everybody's really pushing with the mixing. This is feeling, if it feels like you're kind of on the edge of things, that's great. That means, oh, look at what good work we've done. Okay, you. Oh, I need to forward you. I'm gonna pull down my demo for a second. This is easier for me to do in person. Okay, let's. I don't think you need to look at mine as much as you want to look at yours. I'll take a picture of mine though and send it across. And to bring the source down so you can look at it for some more details. Here we go. There is the source at the bottom. Probably take a picture of this. I'm probably going to actually. No, leave it. I'm going to take a picture of where I'm at right now so you guys can see it, but. That's where mine is right now. Of course, I've had the advantage of doing this 3 times, some variation on this 3 times already. So, um, see. Ooh, now you're starting to get there, Anik. Starting to play around a little bit. I like it. See if you can add a little bit of detail in the base, if it's possible. That's okay. That you can see that's actually not as problematic in this case. I like how you're starting. I would try to soften the edge around. Let me show you. I
Sure.
would try and soften the edge using maybe water in your brush here. It's a little bit
That's
hard.
right.
Great. I like to see how people are stretching themselves on this place, right? Like this is not going to look the same for everyone. That's why I pulled my thing down because I was like, actually, you know, yeah.
Uh-oh.
We've got about 20 minutes left in class. If you finish to your satisfaction, you're excused early if you would like to be. That's the incentive. If you want to stretch it out, stretch it out. Diana and Sandra, do you want to stay on a little longer or?
Diana, I'd love to because I'm off today.
Oh, you're off today.
Yeah,
Yes.
Diana, escape the sick room. Stay with Sandra.
What sick room? Are you sick?
But I probably need to take a break to go and eat something because I haven't had anything, but I can
Right.
take.
Okay, so Agatha, you really need to push. Do you see those big runny lines on your top? The color in the middle should probably be a mix of gamboge and medium yellow to do the shadow part. Gamboge or yellow ochre, which is kind of mustardy. And you need to get darker, right? Not with the upper left part, but with the rest of it. It should be kind of more mustardy orangey. So try a warm yellow, cadmium yellow medium, and a little either gamboge or yellow ochre, whatever you have, and lay it on a little bit more heavily and see how that goes. And then what you really need to do, Agatha, is you need to darken much more your base and get rid of those lights because those lights really aren't there the way you have them and they're distracting. Can you see they make it look disjointed? So you really need to get them out of the way. I just get rid of it all. Like, because you don't really have, like, it's too pronounced as it is. And I also want you to notice those dark line, wavy lines that are on the top of your, on your top. They're a little in your background. They're a little distracting. Can you see that?
Yeah.
They don't really work in the painting. So I would go over with water and try to kind of soften those a bit. That will, I think those are the three things that will help. Yes, nice work. And that's a good 15 minutes of work. And then it'll be done. Very nice. I do too. Nice work, Anik. Beautiful. There's one thing that needs to be fixed. That little white edge at the top right that's poking out, you need to put green on, you need to get rid of that on your flower. Do you see it? Here, I'm going to point it out to you.
Yeah.
You'll see it. Let me show you. I'll pull it up and share it. Yeah, it's so funny how these little issues, if we don't, but nice soft edges on everything else. Okay, gotta pull that up. I'm going to share. So yeah, beautiful soft edges in all these places. Love what's happening here. Love this background. Love what's happening here. See that little finger pointing up and flipping us off?
Yep.
You need
You see
to
that.
get rid of it.
All right.
Other than that, you're done. Nice work, everybody. Great work. I hope this is fun, as it's kind of frustrating. Once again, I give you all permission to screw this painting up. There's nothing like screwing up a painting to really learn from it. So don't feel the pressure to get this exactly right. We're learning. And this is the first subject we've actually painted, and there's a lot of pieces to it. Even in the simpler version, right, Agatha? The other one was like super hard. I realized that the other one we did had too many transitions and too much mix. It was way too hard. Sometimes I don't realize that until I'm in the middle of it. I'm like, uh-oh, this is hard. Let's see. Better. Nice work. You're excused. Go pay your tax bill. Or go earn your money to pay your tax bill. I don't know. Or actually, you've already earned your money to pay your tax bill. Yes, work on your dragon. If you want to stay, I think Diana and Sandra are staying.
Yeah, absolutely, with pleasure. Annie.
I'm not quite yet give Diana hosting capacities. I want to see if I have to pull anything up on the screen. I'll do that. But anybody is welcome to hang out.
Absolutely.
I cannot hang out for too long today, unfortunately, but I'll stay for those few minutes more.
For a few minutes. I know, because we treasure these. I'm going to stop the video. Done for today, officially.